The Iceman cometh.
Please, show some mercy.
Mercy? I'm afraid that my condition has left me cold to your pleas of mercy.
So do you have your Little Caesars Batman calzone in front of you?
I do. Not right now, but I did order one, and so I have something to say about the Batman calzone.
Did you
Batman Bat Signal calzone?
Do you really have one ordered for right now?
No. I don't. I should though. Maybe I should. If my daughter hears me talking about it, she'll want one.
Yeah.
But yeah. So what's funny is we got it just because it's like super cheap and
$7.
why not? Yeah, why not try it? And so, but then my daughter was kind of interested in the artwork on the box. She's 3, and she's like, and I'm like, this is Batman, and she's like, what's Batman? Like she was kind of into it. And so I was explaining to my little girl Batman, and she was like, well, I want to watch Batman. And so I was like, well, which one do I show her? I'm like, probably like the animated one, maybe, or something. I don't know. But I was just looking up like what's out there, and I'm like, I guess we could do like Batman Begins. But then I started watching it, and my daughter's like has no interest in it. There's no Bat character. There's nothing going on. She wasn't really into it.
You could do 60s Batman.
Yeah, 60s Batman maybe. But yeah, so I don't know what Batman appeals to a 3-year-old, so I'll have to figure that out. But kind of an interesting note on on Batman Begins and the Nolan series.
Yeah. Well, I'm over here with my collectible popcorn vessel. Just right here on my lap. Right here on my lap. I'm holding it steady with my legs so I can be hands-free. Wow, what a cool piece of memorabilia.
What I didn't get about the Batman vessel, and we'll have our assistant put it up on the screen for you who are watching this.
Jamie, pull that up. Pull up the collectible popcorn vessel.
Yeah, pull up the popcorn vessel. Is it had like an empty slot for the cowl or whatever, like the mask, like where the jaw would go?
Yeah.
But like, is that stealing popcorn from you? Like, is it just the top of the mask that you get popcorn
look like
in?
You can fit much popcorn in there.
Yeah, it's like maybe like a cup of popcorn. It doesn't seem like a good deal. I don't know why.
The part where the like mouth would be, I guess, is for your wallet or something.
It's just empty. Like, I don't think you can hold anything in it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand the design on that thing.
Yeah, and to describe it further, the top of the head is empty. There's like 2 little ears, but like the top is just a cylinder, and there's popcorn in it. But yeah, the thing cuts back where the mouth would be, and so it's like, how much popcorn are you really getting in this vessel?
It's $27.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh man.
It's the weirdest promotional item I've seen in a while.
Yeah. I do like that it is a vessel though.
Okay, so we got a new. They're relaunching Batman. They're doing another phase of the Batman. I call it the intellectual property roller coaster. There's these things never die. They're just always going to keep going. So now we're entering the Pattinson. That's his name, right? Pattinson.
Yeah. Maybe I shouldn't steal this from another movie podcast, but they call him Rabat Battenbat. So
yeah,
feel free to use that.
So yeah, he's the new guy. And you have to assume nothing these days isn't done on a 5 to 10 year schedule. So I'm sure they've already mapped out 3 movies for him, the whole narrative arc and all that. But and we haven't seen it yet. It is out as of today, but we've only seen the trailer. Before we get to the trailer, though, let's look back over the last, just from 1989 onward. kind of the modern era of all these Batman movies.
Yeah, prior to 89, there were some attempts at movies, but it was kind of the wacky 60s thing, which was mainly a TV venture. And I think there was one before that in like the like 40s or 50s. It was like black and white, but yeah, those don't count.
Yeah, I was never able to get into the 60s Batman and all that. I mean, I watched them as a kid, but
Right. Yeah, I it wasn't on my radar. I feel like they weren't doing them as like reruns when I was a kid, at least.
so in 1989, you get Batman with Michael Keaton and Tim Burton directing.
Hmm.
Keaton, as I understand it, is more of a comedy actor.
Right.
So I don't
People
know.
had issues with the casting. Like they've had issues with the casting of all Batmans almost.
Yeah, pretty much. Keaton era Batman, those were in the Tim Burton style. What did you? I don't remember them too well. I have not watched them recently. I watched the
Okay.
trailers. But what was your
Well, I was gonna
impression of?
say one of the '89 trailers, like it's very like narrated, like of the time,
Mm-hmm.
like Batman will be doing this. Like it kind of just explains what's happening. And
Yeah.
I miss that trailers just are kind of like, you want to see this movie because we're going to tell you the plot. That's what a trailer used to be for, but now it's like we're just going to show you things and you have to like guess what they are and watch YouTube breakdowns to understand what happened.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
um
the art of the trailer has come a long way. I'll say that.
yeah, yeah. But I was born a year before this came out. So I was not I don't have the like I feel like people just older than me, this is like their Batman and this is what they want out of Batman. So 89 Batman, like people loved, but like technically for me as a kid, my Batman was Joel Schumacher Batman. I want crazy colors and Jim Carrey and stuff. But technically I guess they're in the same world because there's like carryover characters and like production and stuff.
Oh, really? I actually didn't know.
Yeah. So and Wikipedia is classifying them as one entity.
Oh, so they
The
don't. Okay.
Burton to Schumacher verse.
I guess they didn't really reuse any villains. The first one had Nicholson as Joker, and then who was the next one they did? Did Burton did? Was it Penguin?
Yeah, Penguin. So it was yeah, Jack Nicholson Joker and then Danny DeVito Penguin and Catwoman was bigger in the second one, right? Or was she in the first one?
Yeah,
Maybe
she's
we
in. I
should know
think,
this.
yeah, she's in the second one, maybe in the first one too. But okay, but then the ones. So then when Kilmer takes over in 5, that's still supposed to be the same cinematic universe.
Yeah, yeah, but they did recast Harvey Dent, who was Lando Calrissian, and then switched to be the guy from Fugitive.
Oh, but Billy D. Williams, he never actually appears on screen as.
He
Uh,
doesn't.
okay.
Yeah, and so yeah, Tommy Lee Jones and and it was Val Kilmer. They just switched him out, and everyone was fine with it, I guess. And then, but Chris O'Donnell was in as the Robin, and he continues on to Batman and Robin.
Yeah, Kilmer drops out, but then Chris O'Donnell's still there when Clooney comes in.
And seeing these as a kid, I guess all of these in the verse, like they seem kind of silly now. Although some people like are swearing by Batman '89, but I'm not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily one of those. But I do recognize there's a slight tonal change when it gets to Schumacher, especially when you get to Batman and Robin, which is basically like a slapstick comedy.
Yeah, the um the Tim Burton ones. I mean, those are pretty. I don't know. Those are pretty cartoony, or campy maybe,
Hmm.
and it's on purpose. You know, it's in the Burton style.
The Burton verse.
Yeah, and then the Schumacher ones, they seem to keep a lot of it in some ways. It to me,
Yeah,
it's
they keep
worse.
the same style, but they kind of like up the color and the plasticiness.
Well, yeah, and it's very fitting with the mid '90s. Like, remember everything was the joke about the '90s was like things were to the extreme, and extreme was spelled X dash tream.
And
Like,
you have like ice skates in your boots.
yeah, like Mountain Dew, Doritos. I mean, we've redone a lot of this stuff in like the 2010s, but that's how a lot of the '90s was. It was very, neon and yeah, rollerblades,
Yeah,
and those
Nickelodeon
movies.
slime.
Yeah, and those movies seem to fit that.
The toys were great. That's all I remember. I had all the Batman toys. I didn't really like watch Batman that much, but I had like a bunch of Batman toys.
Yeah, I think the second Schumacher, just from the trailer with Arnold and Clooney as Batman, Arnold as Mr. Freeze or whatever his name was, and then Alicia Silverstone as Batgirl. That whole thing, just from the trailer, I don't really remember the movie, but it looked like a mess.
I remember the movie pretty well. It was a mess, and there's like a scene where he has like a bat card. So like he has like a Visa bat
Oh
card,
dear.
and like he pays for something like really cool, like a Batman would pay for things. Um, but yeah, I one thing about Schumacher is he a good director or a terrible director? And I don't know because I'm a big fan of Falling Down, which he did like right before Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And
I forgot that was him.
but then what I realized is his the point of Falling Down in his mind, like I've seen it on like interviews, is he wants you to he's making fun of Michael Douglas, the Michael Douglas character.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess a lot of people in like right wing spaces don't necessarily perceive it that way. So maybe he's like playing a joke on them, I guess. But like even in the movie, there's like a white supremacist character who like sympathizes with Michael Douglas's character, and then like but he's supposed to be like worse, and like Michael Douglas doesn't like him. So, but as I've understood, like Schumacher was saying, like, oh, like this was basically him being like boomers suck, but I guess he was talking about like the silent generation or whatever.
So are you saying kind of that it's not clear if he's good or not because what he intended to do in something like Falling Down, he actually accomplished the opposite.
Right. He kind of made us sympathize with, I guess, the anti-hero. Did he mean to do that or did he not? I don't know. So like, and then he produced these things, which are kind of like what was going on here. And I'm looking at his oeuvre. Is that what we say? And he never really had like a great movie after this. Like some of them are like okay, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I know that Kilmer. There was this new Amazon Prime documentary that Kilmer put out. Did you see that by chance?
No, I didn't.
It's actually pretty cool if you're kind of just a movie guy, because Kilmer had this reputation as being like he was supposed to be a leading man. That's what everyone kind of wanted for him, all the studios and stuff.
I remember The Saint.
Yeah, they wanted him to be a leading man, and he looks like a leading man, but he is much more of a stage guy. He wants to do stage stuff. He wants to do character parts. He wants to he's very much kind of into the art of film more so than a lot of like the guys he was working with. And so he was always carrying around like a camcorder. He had his family and stuff was really into camcorders and stuff back in the like 60s and 70s and or 70s and 80s. So he was always into it. So for his whole career, he was filming like behind the scenes on movies he was doing. So he put out this documentary kind of recapping his life because he's pretty sick now, and I doubt he'll live too much longer. Or even if he does live, he's not going to do much more. He's not going to do a lot of acting. So he put out this thing, and he talks about Batman, and the official story was like, oh, he didn't reprise his role as Batman because he went to go do the Saint, and there was scheduling conflicts. But he just didn't want to do it anymore because it was like this very rigid process, and there was no room for like the actor to do anything creative. He just had to like stand there all day, and they'd shoot the same thing multiple times. And so I don't know if Schumacher might have been in the same. Either Schumacher was the one that made it so rigid, or the studio was just gonna they just maybe dictated all the terms. So it's hard to know if he's any good based on something like this.
Yeah, yeah, it was definitely kind of like a property they were looking to monetize. Um, but that's interesting. I'm gonna have to check that one. Does he do a lot around Batman, or is it?
He doesn't give a ton of attention to Batman. He mostly just kind of like talks about how he didn't like it, and
Mm,
for that one doesn't get a lot of attention in the thing. But overall, it was a good documentary. Anyone who likes like 80s and 90s movies should probably check it out.
the other thing I wanted to bring up about this, referring back to our Norm Macdonald uh, in memoriam that we did on Norm Macdonald Live, Jim Carrey told a story about meeting Tommy Lee Jones for the first time while working on the movie,
Yes, I'm
and
glad you remember this.
he sees him in the restaurant. I pulled up the quote, and he says he walks over to him and kind of is just trying to like introduce him, and he says that the blood drained from his face, and he said he went to hug me, and like when he pulled him in, he goes, "I hate you. I really don't like you." And Jim Carrey was like, "Well, what's the problem?" And he said, "I cannot sanction your buffoonery," because that was the height of Carrey.
Carrey was huge at this point.
Hmm. So it's just funny. I kind of want to like watch more Tommy Lee Jones stuff because of that.
Yeah. So that was Batman and Robin was 97, and then we get 8 years before another
Big
Batman.
Silence, which was weird because I what what was the Batman and Robin like? What did they bring in? Because I don't remember it being a flop. I remember it being a flop like critically, but not commercially necessarily. The budget was 160 million. Box office, and it brought in 238.
It's not that. It doesn't seem
Not
that good.
great, I guess. So it's kind of a flop. But yeah, they definitely wanted to switch after that because at least the critical response. But yeah, there was a lull, and part of it has to do with the theme of one of our previous episodes, which is Darren Aronofsky was going to do one.
Oh yeah. Okay, fill me in on this. I saw the article, but I didn't have time to read it.
Yeah, so after what was the thing he did in '99? Um,
Oh, Requiem.
Requiem for a Dream. They picked him up and were like, "We want you to do Batman, like a gritty, realistic Batman," which is funny because like that's also funny because '89 was supposed to be like a gritty, realistic Batman, but in like a Burton world, like a dark Batman. And then they were like, "Is it too scary for kids?" And it's like, "It's very silly. What are you talking about?" But yeah, so he was gonna do one. Um, and he was kind of all set to do it. But I think part of it, and I don't have this in writing, but and it was going to be Joaquin Phoenix was going to be Batman, but he was going to do that, but there was kind of like some issues with it, and it would have been like rated R, and so it never really happened. But it looks like they abandoned it in 2002, which is the same time he went to film The Fountain, like the first version of The Fountain.
Hmm.
And so this is why there's a lull in Aronofsky's career and a lull in Batman, is because he was going to do Batman, and apparently a lot of the elements of Aronofsky's Batman went into Batman Begins because it was going to be like the big, slightly more realistic and origin story for Batman.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we get to 2005 with Batman Begins, and this is Nolan, right?
Yes, and also one other thing before that, they were going to do a Justice League movie with George Miller of
Mm.
whatever fame, being Australian, of
But
Babe
yeah,
Pig in the City. Yeah,
so Nolan's movies feature a lot more like realism,
yeah,
like
like no magic in the Nolan-averse.
yeah, Batman is very much it's like military industrial complex Batman.
Yeah,
His armored vehicle is not his Batmobile is like does conceivably look like something you might have seen in Iraq or something. Uh
yeah, it was kind of like related to the Iraq War in ways, with like the technology and stuff, and very of its time. I was watching Batman Begins with my daughter to show it to her, my 3-year-old daughter, and the one thing I thought about it is I was trying to be like, what's the Nolan stuff in here? And there is, but there's a lot of like Nolan-ness missing, I feel like, as well, at least in the first one.
Yeah, I mean, when I think of Nolan, I think of all of his. He likes to play with time, and I don't think he gets to do that in the Batman movies, really.
Right. It's fairly linear, fairly simple, but that I think some of his other themes come out in the other movies, but
I guess the main Nolan-ness of it is that, I don't know if it's the main, but how it reminds me of other Nolan things is that it's very, I mean, Batman is inherently urban, it's Gotham City and all that, but Nolan has a way that he captures concrete environments and stuff. The Nolan lighting is there that looks like, something later, like Tenet or something. Yeah, that stuff all screams Nolan. Like, it looks Nolan, like a visual style that he's carried on. Maybe he had it before that, but it's definitely carried on since then.
And I was a fan of Nolan at this point. I was a big fan of Memento. So like that was like one of my favorite movies at the time. So I was like all in on Batman Begins.
So then we come to Dark Knight in 2008, which to me is still the best comic book movie. I don't know of anything that challenges it.
Well, it's one of the only comic book movies that surpasses its genre. And what I mean by that is Transformers, for instance, is a great action popcorn flick. The first one, at least. Because you watch it, there's big explosions, there's girls in outfits, there's exciting stuff happening and guns, and that's what you want when you go see it. But it doesn't surpass its genre, right? It is what it is, and that's all it is. And similar with like comic book movies, you kind of want to go see kind of a comic book story, be entertained, have the villain be vanquished, and you're good to go. But yeah, definitely Dark Knight is one of the only comic book movies that surpasses the genre, that goes beyond just being a comic book movie to being an actual good movie.
Yes. It's so a lot of people will sometimes people will compare the Dark Knight to Heat, Michael Mann's Heat, where Batman and Joker are like in the Pacino and De Niro roles. It's a bigger thing than just a comic book movie.
Well, and like the cinematography is there, like it looks cinematic, and even in like kind of the normal scenes, like that opening scene, it's like IMAX framed and stuff with the robbery. Like everything's just dialed in that movie.
Yeah, I guess when we talk about the Nolan-ness of these movies, that's really it. Nolan does a lot more practical stuff, and he shoots on film. A lot more practical than like then I watched the trailers for the later, like the Justice League movies and all that, and those are full of CGI. And I'm sure Dark Knight has CGI too, but it's a lot less in your face because he's actually doing a lot more blowing stuff up, and he's also not using supernatural stuff like you said. He's just using,
right. It's a lot of in-camera stuff. One thing I was going to ask is Batman Begins the origin of doing like what if superheroes were real, or was there another movie that did that prior?
I'm not strong enough in the category to have a
I'm trying to think, because that's kind of what Iron Man did, which also came out in 2008, right? Iron Man was like, what if we made Iron Man like he had to make his own suit, and so like it was kind of like in the same vein of Batman Begins, where it's like we're gonna make superheroes real now. They kind of abandoned that, but it was kind of like a thing that happened for a while there.
Yeah. Last thing on Dark Knight, I think Ledger gets a ton of credit for his portrayal, and he dies before He
Yes.
died before it came out, or he died shortly with not long after it was made or something. So he gets a lot of credit for his role. This isn't meant to be like a hot take or anything. It just I think he did a great job, but I just think the role was so well conceptualized and conceived. I think a lot of maybe not a lot, but other people could have done that Joker, and the movie still works pretty much as well. They just had a good take on the Joker. Maybe some of that is his. Maybe some of that he came up with, but
He did a good job.
oh yeah, it was, for
Like,
sure, yeah.
like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to even conceive of him as someone else. Although, the other point I was going to make was with Batman Year One Aronofsky, is he was with Jared Leto after Requiem for a Dream,
Mm-hmm.
but then he ends up playing the Joker later on in a very terrible movie.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, yeah, I don't have the only other thing on Dark Knight is just I was on my mission when it came out and everybody was talking about it. It was like the talk of the mission,
Mm.
and all the bad missionaries went and saw it and I didn't get to. So I actually didn't see it till after my mission.
All right, so then Dark Knight Rises. I have a bit of a take here. Nothing too crazy, but I liked it. I mean, it's extremely watchable. A lot of really good moments and like action set pieces. You know, like the opening thing with the plane is incredibly cool. But just straight up, it's just not as good as The Dark Knight.
Right.
It's just a lesser movie. It would have been nice if somehow the story could have been reworked or whatever. I mean, obviously you can't go back in time, and obviously, and
Yeah.
Heath Ledger died and all that. But somehow, if The Dark Knight could have been the last movie, that would have been a nicer end to a trilogy. But it is what it is. Dark Knight Rises was a cool movie, and at least and I don't really like comic book movies, but that one is still to me just a good movie.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Tom Hardy in that role. It's great. I think the memes make it better. A big guy for you, all that type of stuff. It makes it more enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, that one had a ton of we'll call them like cultural artifacts that came out of it.
The thing I think it suffered from was there's not really a focus on the villain. Like, is it Catwoman? Is it Miranda Tate? Is it Bane? Like, if none of that really worked, I kind of get what he was going for. Like, it's a surprise villain. It's actually the woman, but like, it didn't really work. They didn't really sell it. And whereas the villain in Dark Knight was like so fleshed out and so well done. And so it was just like it suffered from that and kind of was over long in the third act.
Yeah, I plan to do a full Dark Knight episode on this podcast. But one take that you've probably seen me express before is that for some reason in the Batman movies and in some of his other movies, Nolan, I don't think he casts women very well. I don't think Katie Holmes was right. I don't think Maggie Gyllenhaal was right, and I don't think Anne Hathaway was right. So
yeah, they're all like, bad.
Yeah, I mean, they all have their virtues and their issues, but and then none of them are like necessarily bad. They just didn't seem like the right fits for these roles to me. They never felt quite right.
Oh, and I want to respond to the Nolan controversy of one of our last podcasts of him making movies for midwits or whatever, which I don't know if that was a direct quote or not.
I punched it up, I think.
But this is a perfect example of that, because the whole symbolism of the darkness and the cave and rising out of it, like, it's very in your face. But I guess it's more than anything a Marvel movie would do, but like, it's not like, oh, I'm in a cave and I have to get out and it resembles my own internal struggle as well. Like, it's like, yeah, I get it. I get what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. And then we go to, I don't want to really spend any time on these. I actually never even I've never seen an Affleck portrayal of Batman. I've just seen the trailers. I wasn't interested when they came out, and I watched the trailers again today. Still, after seeing those trailers, I can't imagine going back and watching them. So, I probably never will.
So they're okay. Individually, they're not bad. Other than Justice League 2017, just don't watch it. Don't watch it at all. The Joss Whedon version. The Batman v Superman. Here's the issue: they wanted to monetize Batman, but they didn't want to do an origin story, and they didn't want to give him his own movie. And so it was just like it didn't really work. And I saw what like Zack Snyder was going for, and also is it George Miller? Yeah, George Miller is the writer, right? Or no, that's the director of.
I'm not sure.
Anyway, it was kind of written from a like Ayn Randian perspective, like the comic itself. It's basically saying like Superman is a like goody two shoes government boy, and Batman is like a vigilante libertarian, Ayn Rand hero, where he's has all the money and is very whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the conflict of the comic book is these two personalities clashing, right? Where he's like, I'm for the American way and I'm going to protect the government and you have to do what the government says, Batman. And Batman's like, no, I'm going to do it myself, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and so that's kind of the conflict of the movie. But like what Snyder does is he goes and he's like, what if they were both cool Ayn Rand heroes who hate the system and do anything they want? And so there, it didn't make sense why they were mad at each other at all. Like, but that being said, Affleck did better than I ever thought he could as a Batman. He actually seems threatening, and he's kind of like bulked up a little bit. And
Oh, that's what I've heard. I've heard his performance is fine. Just when I see those trailers, the movies themselves look like something I don't want to see.
right, and the movie itself is fine, but then Justice League ruins it. It's kind of, and then and
Yeah, the
actually
Justice League
the
trailer
best
looks
part of
especially bad.
what's that?
The Justice League trailer that I watched, that one
Yeah.
looks especially bad.
So the best part of the Batman v Superman, and maybe you could watch it, is they go to the end of the Superman movie, the Superman origin, and they show Ben Affleck running towards the destruction that Superman is causing. And it's actually like a really good scene, and it shows him as being like a brave, cool guy. And like it kind of informs why he would be mad at him, because he like destroyed the city. And
What's Superman's deal? He's like he doesn't know Earth customs yet, so he just ruins things.
no, he was just laser fighting Zod with his
Uh,
laser eyes, and they were like smashing through a bunch of buildings downtown.
like
And what they did is they
the
kind of
Power
played
Rangers
it like,
thing?
what if this was like this universe 9/11,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, that premise that makes sense. That reminds me of like Power Rangers when I was a kid. I noticed at the end of every Power Rangers they would form the big mechanized monster and fight the bad guy, but they'd always knock over a bunch of buildings. And even as a kid, I'm thinking, doesn't someone live there?
Yeah. Yeah, so like that scene is actually like really cool, and like you've never really seen like a ground perspective of someone trying to be a hero while there's like a big glowing orb Superman fight going on, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so that like there's great parts of it. The soundtrack is actually pretty cool. Um but yeah, there's some issues with the movies for sure.
Yeah.
And then Justice League 2017, throw it in the trash. It's terrible. Zack Snyder cut makes it a movie that makes sense, but it's like 5 hours long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe I'd watch that. I don't know. All right, just for time now, let's jump into the new trailer for what's his name? Rob Patton Bat or something?
Batten Bat
Yeah.
instead of Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
So once again, controversial pick. They picked a pretty boy, glowing crystal glow boy.
Yeah. So this is my initial reaction to the trailer is they're going like emo Batman.
Yes. Although, so here's my take on it: is after the Ben Affleck stuff and it kind of went bad, and Affleck wanted off the system, then they were like, we're going to do this Joker movie, and it's going to be in a different universe, right? And it's like gritty Joker origin with Joaquin Phoenix. So basically, my hypothesis is this is supposed to be in that universe, but
I was
also,
gonna ask exactly that.
Yeah. And so like you see in the trailer there's like the Joker boys. They're like all painted to look like Joker, but it seems like he's already dealt with them.
Yeah, those are the remnant. Like those are those who were inspired by his actions 20 years earlier or something.
Yeah, and so like the Joker once again kind of a wild success for them, but they were kind of making it planning it to be like a one-off. And at some point Ben Affleck was supposed to be directing and starring and writing in his own Batman. So I
Mm-hmm.
think this is what they slotted in to be like this is going to be like our Al Pacino Batman or like, Martin Scorsese Batman 1980s movie.
Mm-hmm.
But
This new one, you mean this new the
yeah,
bat?
but I don't know if that's the case anymore or what they're doing. I don't think they have a plan at all. They're kind of just like, let's see what people watch. And like, yeah, because like then they made that Aquaman movie that did pretty well because it was like silly and people had fun. And so they're
Mm-hmm.
like, maybe we should do more silly fun movies. And then it's like, I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, my impression was that this is literally in the Joker verse, but if not literally in the Joker universe, it's in the Joker artistic universe. Like,
Yeah, the expanded
um,
universe, the Joker expanded universe.
yeah, the Joker artistic tradition. Um, and Joker, and I thought about including Joker on this list, but there's a bunch of other like ancillary Batman properties, but Joker is better than most. The 2019 Joker was better than most Batman movies, but we'll get into that another
Yes,
time. Um,
it's almost not a superhero movie. It's just like a taxi driver again. I liked it, but yeah. As far as yeah, the trailer though, the one thing is I was like, so they're just doing like the the Nolan idea again of like he's depowered. There's no magic. There's no super villains. They're all just like serial killers.
that's what
Or
I was going to say. They appear to have stuck with the Nolan realism,
hmm
but you could also say they're just sticking with the Joker realism.
right, right.
Here, I have a question for you. Did you notice the song in the trailer? The trailer I was
Mm,
watching was like main official trailer or something.
I actually didn't watch it
So,
recently, but no.
so the song in the trailer is like a cover version of Nirvana's um, "Something in the Way,"
Mm,
and I swear a bunch of like, especially like comic book movies do this, where they take some old rock song and then they do like a slow down, more
hmm
dramatic cover of it for the trailer. And they always seem really stupid to me. I don't know, like just find another song or use the original. I mean, you don't want to pay for the original, I guess, but um, it feels like a trend where they just keep doing this, and I guess all I have to say is I don't like it.
Yeah, I think it may have been from the Suicide Squad, actually. Not the Suicide Squad, just Suicide Squad, the 2016 one.
Uh-huh.
Man, DC is a mess. What are they doing over there? But where they did like a classic rock song in the trailer and everyone loved it. So now like every trailer's like, let's put in like an older song.
But was it like a very dramatized and
I think it
emotionalized?
was. I can't. I think they had at least one like that, if I remember. I think
Yeah,
that kind of kicked off the trend.
I don't have the examples on hand, but it feels like I've seen it at least 6 or 7 times now.
Hmm
Where I don't know. Anyway, that's not a huge deal. My other impressions from the trailer, my main impression is that it looks pretty good. Um, it looks they they seem to be taking themselves very seriously, which could go too far in the serious direction. But I generally find I'm gonna like something that they tried hard to make good.
Yeah, yeah, and the casting I'm okay with. Um, the villains seem interesting. I did not know that Colin Farrell was supposed to be the Penguin, and I did not know it was Colin Farrell until somebody told me.
I didn't know that until just now.
Really? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Colin Farrell in Penguin makeup. Who's look,
Hmm.
and it looks like they're kind of playing the Penguin as just like a mob boss, not like a weird Penguin man with penguins who have bombs on their
Yeah.
backs.
That actually, Colin Farrell, whatever. I guess he's a good actor, but um, if you are an ugly 45-year-old in Hollywood, you got to be pretty mad that they hire handsome guys.
Yeah, if you're like a short, squat, older guy, and
Yeah.
you're looking for roles, and they hire like Colin Farrell. Come on, man. What do you think of who's the best? Who's the best Batman actor casting in your opinion that you've just based off of look alone?
Um. Hmm. It's hard to answer because I was so because the ones I like the movies I like by far the most are the Nolan movies. So Bale, but at the same time, Bale didn't seem to that it seemed like other people could have done what he was doing.
Hmm.
I don't have a strong concept of what Batman needs to be.
Well, he's got to be threatening physically, and he's got
Yeah.
to be well, not totally threatening, but like he has to look like he can win a fight against supervillains.
Well, a lot of it comes down to the jaw because that's all you see
Hmm.
most of the time.
Jawline you need, and then you've got to have a good look as Bruce Wayne. You got to look like a millionaire, playboy guy.
Yeah, and I think Bale did a pretty good job at doing both those things. I don't remember the Kilmer movie that much, but Kilmer would probably be my next one.
Mm.
But that's just kind of because I'm a little bit of a Kilmer fan.
Yeah. Well, I feel like, and maybe this is just the bias of age, but I feel like I like the idea because Pattinson looks young. I just looked it up. He's 35, so he's not that
Mm.
young. He's probably not even the youngest. I'm trying to find out, but it looks like Bale was also 35. But like Pattinson looks like, especially like in some of the promotional materials, looks like he could be in his 20s, which I kind of like that.
Hmm.
But he's not in his 20s, so I don't know.
Yeah,
But yeah, I'm interested to see it. Um, but yeah,
I had
Bale is definitely the best at acting. Michael Keaton, I feel like I don't know, like he doesn't look at all like Bruce Wayne.
yeah, I had my doubts about Pattinson, but the he seemed fine in the trailer. I'm not worried that I'll dislike it. You mentioned the casting though of the movie generally. I didn't know about the Colin Farrell thing, and then I don't like that Lenny Kravitz's daughter. She kind of bugs me in everything she's ever been in. Not so much her, nothing she's done wrong, but I don't like.
Okay.
I just don't like her.
I thought she was fine in Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah. And then, but then the one I'm most optimistic about is the Paul Dano or Dano. He
The
he's a real like
Danoverse.
yeah, he's a real serious like actor guy. He's an acting nerd, I think. So and
And he's
I've
been
always
around
kind
for
of
a while. I remember him from The Girl Next Door and Little Miss Sunshine.
I think he's like 35, 36 as well. You know, fun fact about Dano. Um, he went to the same high school as Sam Hyde, and they're about the same age. I've never seen either of them been asked about the other one, but conceivably they know each other.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm looking at the cast for the movie right now, and I also saw. Yeah, I'm a Dano fan. Well, it's Dano Gate. Nobody knows what it's going to be.
I think it's Dano.
Dano Gate? Is it Dano Gate or Dano Gate? Vote in the comments below.
Yeah, leave a
Um,
comment.
but I also saw there's that Irish kid, I guess, Barry Keoghan.
Hmm.
I don't know, but I was like, where did I see that guy? Because he's got like a distinctive look. Um, he was in the Eternals, which is a terrible movie. But anyway, we'll see how he is in this.
Mm-hmm.
Andy Serkis is Alfred. What do you think
Uh,
of that?
to me, I mean, I guess I'm so stuck in the Nolan Batman that to me, like Michael Caine was pretty great in that role. But you know, I'm open to Andy Serkis. I guess.
Yeah, and I in the comics, in some of the iterations of the comics, Alfred is supposed to be like a ex military guy who actually is like super qualified for like military tactics.
Well, the Kane version was too, because he talks about, when he gives that story about watching the world burn. He's referring to his time in like the special force, like British SAS.
But he's so old in that like you never envision him actually like punching someone. Whereas I could envision Andy Serkis punching someone.
Yeah, the final shot where he's walking toward the car.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty good end of the trailer. So you're gonna like it, I guess.
Yeah, I'm a fan of these kind of things, so I'll watch it.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a preliminary thumbs up as well, and I better cut it off there.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Later.